everyone. Welcome to another hot take. My name is Tony D. Today's hot take on Joe Biden. I got to do a hot take because I cannot believe the latest thing that came out of the Biden campaign. It's just so ridiculous. He launched, I think it's an 8-day tour of Iowa because he's desperately trying to get some momentum. And his tagline is Joe Biden, no malarkey. It's just so old. It might as well say, Joe Biden, I'm old. I'm very old. I mean, it just shows you how incredibly out of touch the guy is that he would use a phrase like no malarkey. Now, he doesn't want to use a phrase that's too young. Like, he doesn't want to use, he doesn't want to say Joe Biden, HMU. I mean, that would be weird. Although it would probably be better than malarkey. I mean, Joe Biden, no malarkey. It's so him. And that's his phrase. I mean, that has to be his phrase. None of his handlers, who I assume must be under the age of 77, would go with that phrase. Anything in the last century would be better than malarkey. Malarkey is malarkey came into vogue. I was reading on the internet in the 20s. Nobody's sure where the word comes from. It's associated with the Irish, but the actual origins of the word are, nobody's really sure what it means. But malarkey is nonsense. So no nonsense. That would be a better phrase on the side of the bus than malarkey. No nonsense. You could get behind that. There's no, the word nonsense is not so dated that you wouldn't be like, oh, okay, no nonsense. All right, no nonsense. No nonsense. And it doesn't have any cadence to it either. Malarkey, no malarkey. It's a terrible sort of cadence to it. It should be Joe Biden or Biden's the best. That would be good, right? Biden's the best, 2 B's, something like that. I mean, I could brainstorm better phrases all day long because pretty much anything's better than no malarkey. And of course, he actually made it worse. The first thing that happened was there were pictures of the bus going up with, the seats they had ready for the rally, and nobody was there yet. So the place looked empty. So the optics of just releasing that photo are terrible because it makes it look like, oh, no one showed up to the Biden thing. And so that's all over Twitter too. But he even managed to make it weirder. And keep in mind, this is Biden, a guy who's already has to deal with his hair sniffing problem, his weird sort of touchy-feely thing. So he goes up on stage and his wife, I guess, is introducing him, and he nibbles on her hand in the middle of the introduction. Which, it's just weird and odd for him to do that. He's just trying to be playful, but he's 77, and he's kind of like one of these guys who's 77, but doesn't want to admit he's 77. He's not acting like a guy. The whole point of a Biden candidacy, I think, is that he wouldn't be like Trump. That he would be a guy who would be more dignified than Trump. So you'd want to have an air of dignity, And I get he's trying to have fun, but when if a younger guy had done that, right? If Obama had done that to Michelle, it would have been fun, because Obama's a younger guy and Michelle's younger, and they look like a cute couple having a little PDA. But when old people do it, it's I don't want to see that. it looks much worse. I mean, it's and it was awkward. I saw the video. It was awkward the way he tried to do it. You know, uh, and he's trying to be younger, I guess. You know, but he's 77. Okay, there's no looking younger at 77, really. Best he could do is he could have dyed his hair. He could have slowly done that thing where his hair slowly gets darker. But, everybody on the internet would have seen that and start to make comparisons. But if he had done that slowly over a period of time, or if he had kept his hair dark to begin with, by dyeing it, he would look like a younger guy. He just would, even if he dyed it. Because, look, he's a millionaire. He wouldn't do, like, I dyed my hair for a while. When I was going gray, I dyed my hair. And once in a while, it would look way too dark. And the worst of it was you'd have gray roots, which looks worse than just having gray hair. So I eventually stopped because of that, and because women would tell me, "Oh no, I like the gray hair." So I was like, "Well, what am I dyeing it for? Just for me?" So yeah, the gray hair makes you look older, but at the end of the day, that's what you have, and that's what you look like. So, but the thing with Biden, he's 77, so his hair now is starting to get that wispy look to it. I got another 10, 15 years at least before I get that kind of wispy look where, like, oh, it looked like he's sickly. He's a sickly person. That's what his hair looks like. It makes him look sickly. It was good. He was wearing a baseball cap, which was good. Kept his hair from blowing around, because that would look bad. But, God, no Malarkey. I can't get over that he would put that. I mean, like, if you had to write a parody sketch about Joe Biden and how old he is, like, the only thing would have been worse is if, like, his handlers came out and they had handlebar mustaches and, and real old-timey suits, and acted as if it was like the late 1800s. I mean, no Malarkey. No Malarkey, everybody. I mean, like, if you want to attract any younger voters, they don't even know what the word means. They don't know what the word means. You gotta have, a phrase that appeals to a broad audience. You're trying to get everybody to vote for you, not just people in your age range, Joe. You got to try to get young people in there somehow. Now, he doesn't want to cater to young people, because that would be a mistake. If he tries to get hip, no, that's going to be cringy. But if you just do something like Joe Biden, no nonsense, that does zero damage. Zero, right? It's a straightforward message. It's not all that exciting or clever, but you're not going to get people on Twitter laughing their ass off about Malarkey. You're going to at least get, okay, no nonsense. We can't really make fun of that. That's the kind of phrases he needs if he wants to win any kind of, internet war. He's just an endless meme machine. You can't even keep up with this stuff. They are scraping the bottom of the barrel to make fun of Trump for anything. Meanwhile, Joe Biden just is a walking disaster wherever he goes. He cannot help himself. It's stuff he does, the way he looks, the way he talks, and then this. Like, what next? What next is he going to do to embarrass himself? I mean, no nonsense would have been perfectly appropriate, and everybody would have understood it. No Malarkey, people 50 and up, me. Yeah, like, I understood it. I remember the word Malarkey. I'm too old to really use it, but it's not a word that, like, I encountered much in my travels. once in a while I heard the word malarkey. Usually people were laughing about it because it was already an old word. Now it's just like ancient. It's you might as well have put uh, Joe Biden for Pharaoh on the side of the damn bus. What the hell is going on? And the only thing I can think of is this: Biden is such an old school guy, and he's probably like a grumpy old guy. I imagine him as a grumpy old guy behind the scenes now, especially once he starts losing, once he starts looking at getting embarrassed. So my take on it is his handlers tried a bunch of stuff. It hasn't worked. And so he decided, oh, I'm going to do this. And he said, just put Joe Biden, no malarkey on the side of the bus. And, his marketing guy or whoever was like, well, Mr. Vice President, maybe, no, just put it on the side of the bus. It's fine. Well, no, it's fine. This is what I want. Are you putting it on the bus or not? Okay, sir. I'll have the bus painted on Monday. And that was it. And now, and the thing about it, like, Biden's not going to go on the internet and check all this stuff. I mean, somebody who's 77, they're not in that realm of, let me check the internet. I don't think. He has people to do that. Because I've noticed people in their 70s, they're not, even the ones that use the internet, they're not super internet savvy. They're just not. The only reason people in their 70s are slowly getting on the internet is because newspapers have so died off, and television is so dying. It's just not the same, right? I mean, they have no choice at this point, so they kind of got to creep on the internet. Plus the phones. I think the phones have really done it too, but they still aren't really. They're not checking Twitter. They're not on Twitter. There's no one in. Trump is like the only 70-year-old guy on Twitter, I think, other than the guys in Congress who followed after him just to get at him. But I don't even think those guys run their own Twitter account. Biden cannot. He just cannot do that. He is not practiced in doing that. He is, to me, a typical politician who says one thing on the campaign trail, and then behind the scenes, he's saying what he really feels. Not that that's a huge difference night and day, but behind the scenes, he's probably saying stuff that, is a little non-PC. And there's another story about Biden that, again, the guy's just such a weird, odd duck, you'd call him. While he was VP, I think this was, he'd like to go for a swim and naked. He'd be naked. So he'd just get in his robe, and he had female Secret Service agents, and he would walk around in front of them nude. Now this is the rumor, but I forget the article. I don't know if it's legit, but I could totally see it. I mean, you could totally see an old school guy like that. He didn't care. He doesn't care if he's naked. He wants to be naked when he wants to be naked. He thinks that, deep down he thinks that the only secret security guys should be guys anyway, and that he should be able to jump in the pool naked whenever he wants. And that's Biden. So he's from another time. He's still, in a lot of ways, trapped in that other time. If he was running for president, in the 60s, he'd be doing okay. If he was a little younger. He'd be too old in the 60s, but he'd be doing okay because a lot of this just wouldn't come to the forefront, wouldn't even be mentioned, and, no malarkey maybe would have flown in like the 60s when he was a young guy and, was considered hip. Now he's just so out of tune, so out of touch, so tone deaf with the United States. I'm 53, and even I know malarkey is just an old word and phrase that nobody really uses anymore. So Biden fans, I don't know what you're thinking. this guy, they call him the gaffe machine. He is totally a gaffe machine. I say, if you're a Democrat, get off the Biden train now. Start supporting somebody else. You got to get a better candidate than Biden. He's just going to get wrecked, absolutely wrecked by Trump. Anyhow, that's my hot take. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. And please check out my books, Wokistan, a novel, very political, and the Pineys Book 1, 2, and 3, free for Kindle Unlimited users.